or whatever. Everybody knows you, right? Hello,
Okay.
everyone. Oh,
Go ahead.
welcome. We are here tonight with Katie Bardo, and in case you don't know, Katie lives in California near San Diego, right? And
Yes.
been with Pampered Chef for 5 years and has over 91,000 in career sales, and is recently I don't know if it's recent, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you're practicing some keto diet, and she's going to teach us how to do meatball subs, right? And turn it into a keto friendly recipe too. So welcome and take it over.
Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm super excited for Taste Buds. I love Taste Buds. And so if you guys don't have Taste Buds yet, haven't used it, I'm going to give you my personal testimonial tonight while I'm cooking, because I think it's a really great product and it's something that you kind of have and use, I think, to really appreciate the value of. So one of the challenges in my house is that I do eat low carb. I say low carb because a lot of the foods I choose to eat are keto. I did strict keto for a while, lost quite a bit of weight, but it's difficult to maintain a very strict keto diet in a household that doesn't all eat that same way. And I love food, I cook, I love to cheat. I can't, I just have to accept that I'm not always going to follow a certain program. So I just try to do the best that I can, and I'm still losing weight that way. So what I like to do is, when I see my Taste Buds recipe, I generally, or any recipe, will, instead of making 2 meals, I find a way to use whatever I'm making, or I plan recipes where I can have a low carb version for myself out of what I'm already making, because nobody wants to cook twice, right? So that's one of the ways that I use my Taste Buds. If you guys have Taste Buds, I'd love to know about it, or we'd all love to know. Shout it on the chat, like if you're using it at home, if you love it, if you haven't tried it yet. And if there's any questions you have about Taste Buds, maybe we'll be able to get some of those answered at the end if we're early too. So today we're going to do meatball subs. This came in the September box packet or whatever, and as you guys know, you get 3 of them in there. So raise your hand if you go on Pinterest for recipes, right? And maybe like once a week, right, you want to add something new to your dinner, and you're scrolling Pinterest to get new recipes, and you come up with some ideas, and then you go to the cabinet and you don't even have close to what it takes to make it. So it'd have to go on the grocery list. And maybe you're looking for something for tonight and not necessarily something for next week. So that can get frustrating. And then when you're on Pinterest, you see that cute skirt that you want to add to save for later, or maybe those 10 toxic chemicals that you might have in your house. You've got to read that article. So when you started looking for recipes, all of a sudden it's 3 hours later, you look up and there's nothing planned for dinner. So Taste Buds kind of eliminates all of that because it's delivered to you. And realistically, as someone who cooks most of my meals at home, I plan 3 to 4 meals that I'm actually going to cook a week. Probably 2 to 3 nights is going to be leftovers or eat out of the fridge. Most of the time, the meals I plan are something that I know that we're going to eat and enjoy. Salsa chicken, tacos. Tacos are a thing a lot in our house. Or our go-to meals. But once a week or so, I like to include a new recipe, and that's really where I find the value in Taste Buds, because I don't lose time having to scroll. I get a choice, right, delivered to me, 3 options, and I pick the one that seems the most interesting, right, and I start there. So that's what we're doing tonight. This meatball sub one is super cool, and it's really easy, and I love how easy it is to swap things out. So if you're cooking along with us, the first thing it asks you to do is to put some mayonnaise aside, a half a cup of mayonnaise with some whole grain mustard, and you're going to make that into a sauce. And that's going to be our sandwich spread. So I already went ahead and did that earlier, you guys. I'm a big fan of using what you have. And I don't want to go out and buy a whole bottle of fancy mustard that I'm going to use one time, and then I'm going to forget about it in my refrigerator until 2 years later when I'm throwing it out. So you guys, I substituted Dijon mustard rub. So it said whole grain mustard. I used a tablespoon, but I probably could have used a half a tablespoon because it's kind of strong, but it's still tasty. So we're going to use the Dijon mustard rub with the mayonnaise instead of buying the fancy whole grain mustard. Since I didn't have any, I just used our Dijon rub. So that's our sandwich spread, and that has literally been chilling. So the next thing we're going to do is make our meatballs. So the meatballs are going to take ground meat. I'm going to focus my camera down so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So I have a pound of ground beef here. You can use the turkey that the recipe calls for. You could use chicken. You could use a combination of beef and sausage. It really doesn't matter. We're going to add in our egg and our seasoning, and we're going to mix everything up. This recipe calls for breadcrumbs. One of the low carb swaps that I made is I use almond flour instead of breadcrumbs. You could also use crushed up pork rinds, but I am not a fan of pork rinds, so I use almond flour. And I usually use a little bit less than what the recipe calls for because it can make them tough if you have, and too dense. So you don't want them dense, so don't add too much almond flour, but just a little bit less than what it calls for generally works out perfect for me. And then we're going to use 2 teaspoons of the rotisserie seasoning, and I saved my packet because I already have one of these open. Oh, where's my little guy? I need my little guy. So we're going to use 2 teaspoons of the rotisserie seasoning. I love this seasoning. This if you guys ever use that Goya adobo, that's kind of what I think this tastes like, is the adobo seasoning. And we put that in a lot of meats. And then you're going to add 2 teaspoons of oil, and we're going to form that into our meatballs. And the medium scoop is perfect for forming meatballs. It gives a nice you're going to want 1 ounce meatballs, and that is coincidentally about the size of our medium scoop. That is the best scoop. I use that for like everything. When you're mixing your meatballs, you don't want to over mix because that also can make meatballs dense. So you just kind of want to gently mix until everything is combined. I tend to just, it should be a little wet. If your meatballs are a little dry, you can always add a touch more. I love on this card, so if you're not into beef, if you look at the bottom of the recipe card, or if you're not into turkey, there's even a vegetarian option that you can do for this. I like to have as little meat hands as I can. So now we're going to go ahead and form up the meatballs. And just real quick, 12 meatballs like this.
That's high. This last part, you have to have filling.
I'll get my meatballs going.
A holiday flag.
So these are pretty neutral meatballs too, with just the rotisserie seasoning in here. So this should appeal to any picky eaters. If you guys wanted to, you could totally put in some pea protein, or you could put in some of the super veggie to add a little enrichable to this meal. We're not rolling the meatballs too tightly. It's just real quick and real loose. You're going to get about 12 meatballs out of this. And then I'm going to be doing, so these are meatball subs, right? I'm going to be turning mine into a wrap at the end, and I'm going to be using the Folios. Have you guys ever heard of the Folios cheese wraps? So I have some yummy cheddar cheese wraps that I'm going to use instead of a sandwich for mine. And then the kiddo, he's 7, and Hubs are going to get regular old sandwich rolls because they like their carbs. And I'm going to be doing this up in the cast iron pan. You could use any skillet, on your stove. I'm using an induction cooktop right now, and cast iron works really well on induction. And I have the new enameled cast iron with the lid, and I'm just in love with that. So that's what we're going to use on the induction cooktop for these. Okay. I have like one giant meatball at the end because I just don't want to play. Let me rinse my hands off and then we'll finish up. You're gonna turn your skillet to like a medium-high heat, put 2 teaspoons of oil in. Turn off my light. So this is like a little, because you're probably gonna laugh, but this is like a little counter cooktop that I got from IKEA. So I'm not actually even at my stove. This is one of those portable. It's $48, $49. So it was pretty affordable if you happen to have a space that's kind of tight on space and you want a little extra for your cooking shows or whatever. I found this super useful and pretty inexpensive compared to the ones that are out there right now. So
great option. It's a great option, Katie. And I'm really glad that it wasn't an iPad because I was like, that's really strange. She's got her piece of cookware on her iPad. I thought, wow.
Yes, no, this was my Sandy Lovato actually clued me into this. And I thought, how cool, because I could use it on my counter since my stove is behind me, and I have a super tiny apartment because, you know, I live in San Diego, you guys. So there's no not lots of room and not lots of money here. So we have a little apartment, a little space. I'm gonna go ahead and slice up my onions while we're waiting, and my bell peppers. If you're doing this at a show, it'd be a really great opportunity to bust out that rapid prep mandolin or the simple slicer. I'm a big fan of just using the knife, but one thing that's good to remind people they forget about is that you need to take care of your knives. So I like to bring my honing tool with me and sharpen my knife right there at the show to remind people how to properly care for their knives. A lot of people buy knives and then they forget until, you know, they're like, why can't I cut anything anymore? And we have to sharpen our knives professionally every couple of years, but you want to hone them regularly to keep the blade straight. And you guys, this is my little bell pepper trick. And I never dig out the seeds from the center. I just cut out the sides and it gets all of the bell pepper without wasting any. So I just cut the sides right off and then proceed to slice it from there. We eat a lot of bell pepper in our house. Okay, these are gonna be, this is nice and hot. So I'm gonna start cooking the meatballs, and then Diana is gonna share with us some other tips and ideas for how we can incorporate taste buds into our business and how to use taste buds. So take it away, Diana, while my meatballs sizzle.
Right. So I'm just going to give you a few tips about taste buds, and I'm going to be using these too because you know what? Who doesn't want to have some residual income? So I know that I don't have a lot of subscriptions. Does anyone on here have subscriptions? Just raise your hand or put in the chat that you have some going on. But there's a lot of training involved with or available, I should say. You can, of course, you know what I'm going to say. It begins with D and ends in an H. Where's your first place? Dash. So go to Dash. You can look. There is training in the stir. And Succeed with Subscriptions webinar. That's a great one to take a look at. And selling subscriptions, that's on Consultants Corner. So there's all that training right there in front of us to take a look at. One tip someone has said is when you want to get to know it, if you are a Taste Buds subscriber yourself, use them. Use them. Maybe even keep the new ones out on your counter until you actually use them, because when you use them, then you're going to see all the benefits to it. Just like any other tool, you'll be able to sell it better to your friends and customers, right? One thing that's what was the free gift in August? It was a sample of the taste buds, right? So go to your August guests, and where you can do is you go on to the website, go to reports and tracking, go to customer reports, click on orders, adjust the date. So it says 8/1/21 to 8/31/21, and then put in the product number P as PB, like peanut butter, 1787, and that will pull up your report of everyone who got taste buds last month. Then what you want to do is follow up, right? There's some leads right there. Just follow up. Here's some wording that I learned from a recent a training that we had. And so this is something you can send. You could pick up the phone and talk. You can say, hey, happy end of summer. Fall's here. How are you, Susie, whatever her name is. I hope you are enjoying all the Pampered Chef products you ordered in August. I wanted to share that in September, the Taste Buds subscriptions are on sale. They're 20% off. We are loving it in our home and trying out the 3 exclusive Taste Buds recipe every month. Have you had a chance to use the ones you received yet? And then just take it over from there. You can send that out in a text. You could send something like that out, in a private message. You can email or simply, dial their number. All the information is in that report, their email, their phone number, if they gave it, or cell number. So that's one way to contact your customers, your past customers. Another way, if you didn't have a lot of Taste Bud customers last month, go to your pantry list and talk to people who have bought pantry items in the past. But the thing of it is, we need to reach out and tell people. And I love how Katie introduced the taste buds earlier. It's like, we all get stuck on what to make for dinner. Even though we have all the tools and stuff, this actually helps solve that problem. So with that, does anybody have anything to add to that? I will add one more thing, and then Katie, let me know when you're ready. But I also learned that for the enrichables, that again, keep it on your counter, because if you have them in your cabinet, guess what they're going to do? They're going to probably stay in your cabinet, and you're going to forget to use it. You're going to make your breakfast, lunch, or dinner and be like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Put it into my meal. So start using them. Some people are putting them in like cute little jars, or just the salad jar thing we have, and labeling it, what's on it, and the amount per serving to use, the scoops. But that will remind you. I know I'm visual, so if I don't see it, I forget it. It's a great way to incorporate it. Give yourself a challenge, a 10-day challenge, and try to use them for 10 days and see if you notice a difference in anything. Like sometimes if you add some protein into your breakfast, if you're doing oatmeal or even avocado toast, add it into the avocado a little bit. If you notice that you might sustain your appetite a little bit longer and not have that dull, hungry feeling about 10 or 11, you may be able to wait to 12 or 1 for lunch. That is a challenge, and it's a 10-day challenge that you can try to do. Those 10 days can also be part of the subscriptions, taste buds. So try to use some enrichables that you may have, and try to use the taste buds, and then, let us know what you think, and we'll go from there, but touch base with your customers last month. Okay, I can't find my subscriptions. Where do I look? Okay, so there's a couple ways, and I don't know if anybody else knows. I look under my name in Consultants Corner. There's one way you could do it. You'll see your list there. Let me does anybody else have an easier way to find your subscription report?
Is
But
that your subscription, Diana, or Louise? Is that your subscription? Oh, I think she found
Mine. I found it. I'm a dork.
your subscription, right, Louise?
No, my customers. I'm an
Oh.
idiot. It's right there. I see it.
it is right there under your name. You can look up all the subscriptions. It's all in one place, yours or yeah. So tell us, so you have customers. Tell us how you got them, Louise. How did they start?
They're all were guests in a party, and then I post about them in my party. That's all. I didn't do anything special, but obviously I need to work on it. I actually have more than 2, but I don't have that many, so I got to get working on it.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, Patty put a YouTube. I don't know what that is. What's that?
So you know what, Diana, wait, I was just, here's I think it's Brittany Sunday that does something on subscriptions. And then I have another one from Erin Casiolo, I think. Is that how to say her name? Casiolo. I'll put that in there too.
Great.
So these are our subscriptions.
There's a really great Teach Me back in the stir too. Maybe that was Brittany's, I'm not sure, but there was a good Teach Me webinar on subscriptions.
Succeed with subscriptions. It's called, if you want to look that up in the stir by the search. Those meatballs look fabulous.
Yes, and you might have noticed that I did this backwards because I'm using my cast iron pan. They say to put the onions and peppers in first, but I don't have much oil in the pan first. And since I'm not using nonstick, I like when the flavor of the meat gets into the veggies. So I am choosing on purpose to do the veggies second because I want the flavor from the meat grease, if you will. I want that flavor into my dish. So the meatballs are mostly cooked. I usually do these in the air fryer, so it's really weird to be cooking meatballs on the stove because the air fryer just makes them so even in like 12 minutes. So if I was to make this again, I would actually just do this whole recipe in the air fryer because you can cook both trays of meatballs in the air fryer, and then you can put these veggies on the bottom pan in the bottom. So that's how I do my steak fajitas. So I would do this exact same thing with the meatballs if I was to make.
Diana, I think you tried to say something, but you're muted. Katie's muted. I don't know if that's on purpose, but I don't know if you saw in the chat. I made this recipe tonight. It was delicious. I couldn't wait for the cook along to have dinner. So
I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know when I got muted because I didn't mute myself. Did you guys hear me explain why I did it out of order?
No, you're unmuted.
Yes, about the flavor from the meat that you wanted.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how I got on mute, so I wasn't sure when that happened. But yay.
And I was saying just what Marie just said, that she made it tonight. I didn't realize I was muted. Silly me.
So Marie, so you guys both made this tonight also? And then it says to go ahead and add 2 more teaspoons of the seasoning to the meat, to the veggies.
A half a teaspoon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to look again before I got there. Yes, a half a teaspoon. Did I say 2?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the oil.
No, it was delicious. I was really impressed with how it worked with I use ground beef, and it was absolutely delicious. A lot of flavor. I did the recipe just the way they said. So, but I did it in the square new pan. And it was a beautiful thing. So
we are just gonna push the meatballs to the side and kind of take over most of the pan. The meatballs are mostly cooked. This one in the center needs a little bit more, but that's gonna, why am I using my spatula? I honestly don't do much stovetop cooking anymore, you guys, since I was waiting for the air fryer. And I do a lot of my meals in the air fryer, the quick cooker, and the deluxe grill now. So I would probably, like I said, I would definitely do this in the air fryer if I made it again. And then once this cooks, all you're gonna do is add the basil. Marie, you missed this part. So I was telling them I didn't have the fancy mayo. So I actually subbed in the Dijon mustard rub. I did a tablespoon of mustard rub in here with the mayo for my spread earlier. That was another little change we did. This smells really good.
I tend to cook my meatballs in the microwave. Don't judge.
So easy.
Yeah, it's quick and takes no time at all.
I do that with the taco meat in the rock crop.
Mm-hmm.
The microwave you don't even have to look at your meatballs.
You know what though, the best meatballs are? They're fried in a pan on the stovetop. Those are the best because you take them right off and you eat them right like that. That's my favorite.
These are so good. So then while you're waiting, if you wanted to get your basil ready, we're just going to have some, it says sliced, this is chopped basil. All my basil leaves were super tiny. I've pretty much taken all of my plant's basil. These are just the ends of my basil plant.
Katie, I have to say something. Great knife skills. You haven't even mentioned that, but you have great knife skills. I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Proper holding of the tool and just just seamless.
I also like her view. I don't know. Is that your phone that we're filming from?
The what?
Your phone on a tripod or something? I like the angle.
Oh, that is my webcam up on a tripod. I actually posted a picture of my setup today.
Nice. I'm going to have to go back and look. Marie, that's the one we did. Remember when I brought my tripod with the external camera? Yeah.
I have two tripods. I have one that's like a round base on an arm that's for my webcam, and then I have one with a C clip that clips to my counter that's overhead. That's an overhead mount. That one I got for free from Jumper.
Oh my gosh, Katie!
Can you toggle back and forth between the two when you're doing this, or no?
I'm only using the one mount right now.
Yeah.
Because I would have to have like my phone on my overhead, and then yes, I could. Yeah, I definitely could.
Katie, where did you post those pictures?
On my personal page. If you're friends with me, you should see it.
Yeah, I'm going to look.
It was like
I want to see both of your camera. I want to see both of your tripods or whatever. I want to see. I know I have the external. I haven't seen it.
So there we go. So we're looking really good. Like where we're at right now, these peppers have a little bit of a crunch to them still. The onions are just starting to turn translucent. The meatballs on an eyeball look, they're pretty much done. So at this point is where you would like assemble, your meatballs, I would say. And I'm gonna pull a couple out to cool off. I'll temp them, but I'm eyeballing them and I know they're fine, you guys. But just in case somebody says, I can't believe you didn't temp your meatballs. And I know we have this fancy gadget. I also like my ground beef a little on the pink side, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I'm gonna pull a couple of these guys out just so that they cool off enough that I can show you how I do the keto part. I think you guys all can know, when we do the buns, we're gonna spread our sandwich spread. So that's the bun part is easy. And so is the keto part. So is the keto part. So, we're gonna put our spread on. Got some sliced cheese. You guys, have you used that new cheese knife yet? It's really fabulous. So I always buy block cheese. I'm a lefty. For anybody who thinks that this looks backwards to you, it probably is because I cook left-handed. And this works like all our tools, really good for lefties. So I have nothing but good things to say about the cheese knife. And that's what I use to slice up my. We use cheddar because that's what I had. I don't ever go get anything extra. If I can use what I have at home, that's what we use. These are good to go and done. So then we're going to take 3 little meatballs from my wrap. We're going to do 3 little meatballs and some cheese on their sub. I have tiny. And I know that my family is smelling this in the background. I wish you guys could smell this. It's really good. Definitely make this recipe. If you don't have the rotisserie seasoning, don't worry about it. Use Italian seasoning. Use garlic and herb rub. Use any seasoning literally in your pantry. It will be delicious. So then we've got that. You sprinkle your little bit of basil, right? And that is your regular meatball sub. So then for my keto, wraps, I have these folios. So they come in like a Parmesan, and I recently found these cheddar ones at Aldi, and they're basically slightly melted cheese into a tortilla shape. And I've cooked these into taco shells, like on the griddle. I can make like a frigo, when you melt cheese and it turns bubbly. So we melt those on the griddle. So I can put some meatballs right on in. And I have some spinach leaves. So I can do like a little spinach wrap. Because the main part of keto is just getting in your veggies. And I have a little bit of the peppers and onions. And then I can wrap that up just kind of loose. And that is my keto wrap. This will be a knife and fork one. I don't mind knife and fork ones. Not everything has to be pickup. But I get all the flavors. See, I have the cheddar cheese flavor just like the recipe. It's just missing the bun. And instead of bun, I have spinach, which is much better for me. So this is a super easy swap to do. And pretty much any recipe that I've gotten from Taste Buds, you can swap. Any diet, any lifestyle. I'm not kidding when I say that these are flexible. If you have a certain way to eat, like you can absolutely change Taste Buds up to fit any style of eating, any way you want to make them. Oh, I didn't put my basil. I'm definitely putting the basil. So there we go, guys. So that was how easy this Taste Buds recipe was. This one was like 30, this one was about 38 minutes. And they're all just about 45 minutes or so. So I don't think they're very long or they're very complicated. But for my family, the biggest takeaway that I have is that I don't have to get lost on Pinterest for that time looking for recipes that I may or may not have the ingredients for, and that may or may not be as good as they're rated, because for some reason people like to rate recipes they haven't made on the internet. So you'll see like a 5-star recipe and it's just because people read it and thought it looked good. So you really don't know if those recipes are any good. And the ones developed by Pampered Chef, obviously, they put some thought and they put some effort, and those are coming from our test kitchen.
Bravo.
What questions do we have left about Taste Buds or anything?
Let's see any questions.
Did we answer everybody's? Have I heard of Outer Isle cauliflower bread? Not that particular brand, but I stay, to be honest, I stay away from most things that are labeled keto friendly because I go by ingredients, and that they've jumped on the word bandwagon. So I don't usually do like bagged cauliflower rice or anything prepared cauliflower because it's usually still carb heavy, unless you rice the cauliflower yourself. Oh, it's not keto friendly. Okay. Well then, as long as you know what you're getting into.
Louise too has a handle on her food.
So that product, Louise, would be gluten-free, correct, or no?
Yeah.
I would give this recipe a 2 thumbs up, by the way, if we were voting.
Nice.
Um,
Well,
it is
Delicious.
I think we could probably stop the recording. What do you think?
Yeah, as long as we answer all the questions, I think, yeah, let me go ahead and stop.
And thank you so much, Katie.
Oh, Katie, it's
You
wonderful.
are such a natural.
Can you put
with
that
all this.
meatball sandwich through the screen here so I can catch it on this?
I know.
All right.